Hello and welcome back to the Angry Dave podcast. I am Dave. My next guest is a returning guest. It's Stephanie. Stephanie has some questions for me today, so I'm going to let her take the reins. Steph, you got questions?
I have a lot of questions. I just thought I've known you my whole life, and I like coming up with questions for you
Yeah,
for your podcast because I think that's fun.
yeah.
But I was like, what questions can I ask Dave
So,
about himself? So I thought that would be interesting.
so everybody knows I do use a lot of Stephanie's questions as my 20 questions. So go for it.
All right. So you said before that you wanted to act. Do you think you would want to have done film or Broadway?
I think that I like the idea of live acting better. So Broadway or something like that. It seems like it's more intense. Like that's the most thing that I like about athletics is the intensity of it and having a big play at a big time in front of everybody. So yeah, the instant gratification. So like acting, live music, that type of thing. I have a little bit of experience of live music, playing in bands in high school and stuff. And that instant gratification is what I would have liked. I don't think I would have liked the film process and multiple takes and all that stuff.
Lots of different people telling you what to do.
Yeah, and over doing it over weeks and months and doing the same thing over and over again. I don't think I would like that. So yeah, I think Broadway would probably been the coolest for me.
I'm short. You're short.
Yeah,
What about being a shorter stature you think has been beneficial? Is there anything?
beneficial. I think that most of my life people have underestimated me in almost everything that I do because I'm short and I've had a baby face similar to you, right? So I do think in some ways it's been a benefit. I wish I would have gotten to judo earlier because it's certainly a benefit to some degree in those types of sports where leverage means everything. So, yeah, I mean, I do think there is some benefit to it just from the fact that people underestimate you.
I feel like people think a guy should just be bigger, taller, and I mean, you are who you are. You're born the way you're born, but
Yeah,
you can't. There's nothing you can do about it. But I was just curious to ask you that because my son is on the shorter side for a male, and
yeah.
I was like, it's not everything, you know.
No, it's not everything. You're not going to be a center on a basketball team,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there are some things that you can't do as far as athletics go, but as far as life goes, there's nothing that precludes you. I mean, you might not be able to be an airborne, an airborne ranger and jump out of planes, or there's certain things where height matters a little bit, but the vast majority of things that in life don't really matter. And being good and prepared and smart, and again, in the world of business, I do think that your son and sure people and people that look young get underestimated all the time, but just your hard work will pay off. And especially in what I did for a living for 20 years, also is generally nice too. So
Mm-hmm.
short, look young, nice. People underestimate you all the time, and you get to surprise them by how smart you are.
There's some power in that.
There is power in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's power in the unknown and this, like the sneak attack, right?
Yeah,
It's like the headbutt of life.
like a sleeper.
Yeah,
Nobody knows it's coming.
right. Love it. And that's my temper has always been that way. Not that it's a good thing, but in like fighting and stuff like that, nobody ever saw it coming. I mean, you've been witness to that.
Yeah.
It goes 0 to 100, and you're like, Jesus
The people who
Christ.
know you are like, oh shit, here it comes. But yeah, and
Yeah,
everybody else.
right. And they're like, where the fuck did that come from? Well, you've been fucking with me for whatever, however long. It was never easy to get me that to there, but once I got there, it was a problem.
Yeah, so question number three, there's a lot of questions. If you could talk to one person dead or alive for an hour, who would it be and why?
I asked that question on the internet the other day. Is that somebody in my family or can it be family?
It could be anybody.
It's a great question.
You pick one family member and one
And one
famous person or whatever.
dead or alive.
Yeah.
I guess I will want to talk to my dad. Yeah, I'll try not to cry.
That's
But
all right.
Yeah, I guess I would want to talk to him and see what's going on. So if I could talk to him, then that means that there's a heaven. So I would like to see what everybody's doing out there and see how he's doing and talk politics with him for 30 seconds.
Catch up on everything.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves seems like the coolest dude ever. If there was a celebrity or anything like that, I would like to get in his head a little bit. Seems like a nice guy,
Mm.
and he also, for John Wick, learned how to learn judo. So he's a honorary black belt in judo. So
He gets a lot of shit because his movies are so violent, but he's such a laid back,
yeah,
nice person. It's like it's just a movie.
yeah, it's a movie,
Yeah,
right? Exactly right. And you guys love those movies, so what the hell? Why are you
they're so
mad
much
about it?
fun.
They are
They
fun.
really are. What do you hope to get out of doing this podcast?
So if I could quit my job and become a podcaster, that would be amazing. But I have no expectations of that. I just want to do what we're doing is like have conversations with real people. The one thing that I think has been real cool is that regular people get to say things about their life and put it in a recording that is going to be around forever. So if I would love to just keep doing that. And I don't know if I ever want to come to anything necessarily out of it. I guess I just want to prove to myself and to the world that we're all pretty much the same, no matter where we come from.
Mm.
Obviously, I've mostly interviewed people that I know, so they're like-minded generally. But as it goes along, I would like to get to people that outside of my large circle or whatever. I still think that you're going to find that people want the same thing, generally think the same way. We come out a little bit different on how we perceive it or how we rectify the things in our mind, but we all want the same thing.
That was one of my other questions. Is there commonality among the interviewers or interviewees rather? Well, you know everybody on here, so
Yeah.
is there anybody specifically that you can relate to the most?
Oh, I don't know. I relate to I think I've related to everybody in some way.
Mhm.
My uncle, I relate to him a lot with the way we grew up, but which was neat to see. But everybody that I have related to in some kind of way. So I mean, it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So that's what I wanted to show. I think that we all relate, and I relate to everybody. The one thing that has said, people have said over and over again when I've asked the question of the one thing you would change in the world is some response was like more kindness to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Over and over again. It's almost every podcast in some way people have said that. I find that interesting. When we don't like social media, we don't like the lack of kindness to each other, but then we keep consuming that information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we need to all stop that. We recognize the problem, and we need to stop it.
I'm with you. I limit my Facebook. I can't do it anymore. It changed from what it was supposed to be, I think.
Just positivity, right? I mean, that's if we're going to use it for positive things. I used to make fun of people with their. I make fun of Michael Bright,
Well, I
Motown
mean,
Mike.
it's kind of fun to do that sometimes.
No, but with his food post all the time. But you know what? It's so much better than the negativity. So, I will always love seeing pictures of kids. I do get annoyed by, people trying to pretend like they have this perfect life out there, or on the opposite end of it, the
The woe is me.
or the passive aggressive, like not talking to anybody but clearly talking to somebody.
Yeah.
That annoys me. But so pictures of your food or you're having a good time or your kids, you know what? That's probably what it's supposed to be, and that's positivity. And I'd rather see that than the negativity and the politics and the conspiracy theories. Tired of it.
Yeah. We won't go down that rabbit hole. We all know a couple of those people.
Yeah,
We'll relate it to a couple of those
listen,
people.
there's plenty of them, and they get sucked up in it. Anything that you want out there in the world of the internet, you can find, and you can find that person, someone to agree with you on anything that you think. That aliens were here yesterday. If you want that,
Mhm.
you can find it. So that's the problem with too much information, is that all information is not equal.
Yeah, and it's all I agree. It's all not true. And they have a hard time deciphering the difference.
Right. Right.
So circle back a little bit.
Yeah. Again, I'm sorry.
That's all right. How do you think life would have been different if you had a better relationship with your dad?
I don't know. I've often said that I think that if my dad was a doctor, I would have been an auto mechanic. So I am oppositionally defiant by nature. So I don't know. I don't know what it would have turned out to be. Now, I don't want anybody to think that my dad and I had a complicated relationship.
Hmm.
We certainly loved each other.
You did. I
There's
could attest to that.
there's no question about that. And he would have did anything for me. He was just not a great. He was a great dad. He was not a great father, if that makes sense. He was not a provider. So we struggled, right? So
Mhm.
that was really the basis of most of the, and he was a child his whole life. So there was no good advice, not understanding how to navigate the world. And he was honest about that really anyway. But, like, what are you going to ask me for? I don't know. How would I have been different?
Or would you have been different?
I think I would have probably had less of a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been a benefit and a problem. I think I would have had a little bit more of a clear view, maybe of if my dad could have been somebody different. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I could have been way different. I guess I think I could have been a lot more like my kids. I guess,
Mm.
but I don't. I
It's a
would.
hard question.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I would always want it to be different than my father, no matter what that was. I think that's part of any boy and their son to some degree. You're going to want to be different. So whatever he was, I was going to want to be different, no matter what.
And that's more part of who you are than who
Yeah,
he was.
yeah, 100%. And if he was different, if he was more of the father I hoped he could have been, then I think I would have been more prepared for the world. I guess maybe had less loans, maybe had a little bit more of a focus on how to make things happen. Instead of sort of toiling in for the first 20 years of my adult life of just trying to figure it all out. Maybe I would have had it figured out earlier. I think that's all.
I feel the same way because my parents didn't prepare me in that way either. So do you think that our parents was it them just being a product of their generation too?
100%. Yeah. Listen, my parents in particular were 19 years old, right? When my
Hmm.
mother was, yeah, just turned 19. My dad was turning 20 when I was born. They were children. They were children and they came from, working class, large families that didn't have time. My grandfather didn't have a father. My grandmother didn't know her father. So how was he prepared? He was not.
Yeah.
So again, he did
That makes.
my dad's defense. My dad was a dad. He never had a dad. He had a father, right? For his father, my grandfather, the biggest thing that he wanted to do was to provide for his family.
Mhm.
And he always did that for better and worse. Spent a lot of time in a bar. He was not a good dad, right? He didn't go to baseball games, right? He didn't go to graduations. He had one kid that graduated high school didn't show up to her graduation. That's pretty sad. That's fucked up. But he provided, right? So my dad wanted to be different than his dad. And what did my dad do? He showed up to every baseball game, right? He didn't show up to any music stuff, but he showed up to every baseball game and he was always around, right? He didn't spend time in a bar, but he didn't provide,
Right.
right? So that was that, and then so, it's my job to, again, to do
Break
better,
the cycle.
to break the cycle,
Yeah.
to do better, right? So I've tried to do both and I'm not perfect. Uh,
Nobody is.
sometimes when my dad was a little bit not easy on me or a little bit impatient. I really get that now. I get it now because it's easy to do. I've said some mean shit to my kids sometimes because I have a forked tongue and that was a product of my relationship with my uncle John and my dad. Just battling each other most of my life, and sometimes it gets away from me. And so the one thing that I do that my dad did not do is I at least apologize. But again, I'm not perfect. I think I'm the better version, but I think he would have been proud of me. I do think he was proud of me seeing me be a father, but I'm proud of what I've done. But I'm not perfect. I'm not there yet. My kids are going to be better. Oh,
I think he would have been proud of you.
yeah, I think so. I mean, there's some things he would have hated that I've done, but it's okay.
But I mean, that's just it. Like you learn from your parents' mistakes,
Yeah,
and your kids learn from your mistakes, and hopefully just become better people through all of it, right?
my biggest fear for my kids is that I've learned a lot from my parents' mistakes. I just don't want to make, dude, I forget who said it, but tough times make strong men. Easy times make weak men, right? So I don't want my kids to take that step backwards because they've had it too easy. And I don't think so. I think that they've had enough of my voice to say that things are not easy out there. And this is the way it was for me. This is the way it is for other people. Learn from their mistakes. You don't have to necessarily make them.
Do you feel like you had to display a tougher persona, or were you just a product of your environment growing up?
I think I was a product of my environment growing up, which made me have to pretend to be tough. No matter how many times I was terrified, I was in a lot of fights as a little kid. I was the youngest kid in the neighborhood, the littlest kid in the neighborhood, and I found out that I needed to present that toughness. I mean, Mike Tyson talks about, not that I'm Mike Tyson tough, but Mike Tyson talked about he was always scared, but it was a survival thing. It really was. It really was.
Is that why you felt like you had, like, were you scared? Is that why you felt like you needed to, like, prove something or protect yourself or?
Yeah, there's no question. If I was not portraying violence, like portraying that I could be violent or picking up for myself, I would have been crushed by that neighborhood. Crushed. I've seen kids do it. It happen to kids. Anybody that grew up in that neighborhood knows that that's true. You could not be weak. You just been fucking crushed. It's just the way it was.
I feel like the time period too.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Yeah, it's different now.
No, it is different. Well, kids have, they're not running around the streets and like the Lord of the Flies, right? Like none of us. I mean, that's the way it was. I mean, in the time that I grew up in South Philly, in that neighborhood, in a tough neighborhood, a tough, again, working class poor neighborhood, our parents were not around.
Mhm.
It was the Lord of the Flies, dude. I mean, we ran around and we made the rules as we went.
You talked about if you weren't a lawyer, you would have liked to have been in construction to destroy things and things,
Yeah,
which I think would be a really good outlet for your anger.
yeah, yeah.
What would the name of your construction company be?
The name of my construction would be Angry Dave's.
That would be so awesome. Demo, right?
Angry
Angry
Dave's
Dave's demo.
Demolition. Yeah. Who doesn't want a fucking
That
angry
would be
guy?
so awesome. Like, who can we get in here to this building down? Call Angry Dave. That's great. How are you different than most people that you know?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think that I have a combination of intelligence and street smarts and real toughness that is that is not common. Not only that, but I have a passion for anything that I do. I want to do it great, right? So I feel like I'm smart. I take pride in what I do. I have I have a worldview that a lot of people don't have, and that it's a combination of factors that make me more valuable than most people in like a workplace and in leadership, right? So I led baseball teams and I ran leagues and stuff like that. And the thing that relatability to be able to talk to almost anybody, been in every kind of room there has ever been. So I guess that's probably what I think is uncommon. Not that other people don't have it, but it's uncommon that I really can relate to anybody,
Yeah, I always say we always have really good conversations.
almost anybody. I can't relate to pompous pieces of shit who think that they're better than everybody. I can't.
I don't think many people can. I have no tolerance. I just walk
There,
away.
but there are people that can, and I respect the hell out of people that can stay in that room. I can't stay in that room, but you're gonna know what I at this point in my life. You're gonna know what I think, and I'm generally gonna tell you in a positive way. But I've been around too long to keep it inside.
I think that's one of your more admirable qualities, to be honest.
What?
Your honesty.
Yeah,
And not a lot of people like it, but it's
yeah.
there's something to be said about somebody who could be honest with you, and I mean you're not always gonna like what they say, but sometimes you need to hear it.
I do think I'm good at being honest with people and not being mean about it. if that makes
Hmm.
sense. It has come from a lot of practice.
And it doesn't sound like you're insulting someone either, which I feel like
No,
that backhanded.
yeah, I used to tell the thing that my grandfather and I used to talk about before he passed away is my grandfather was just fucking brutally honest. And, it's not what you say, it's always the way you say it, right?
Mhm.
It's always about people's feelings and the way they perceive what you're saying. If they perceive that you're being honest but you're doing it because you care about them, they're going to take it. That's just the way it is. But you have to be genuine, right? You can't fake that shit because if you do, if people, especially where we're from, people sniff it out real quickly, and they're gonna know that you're a piece of shit, and then you're faking it.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite things that I do.
Oh,
Your honesty.
oh, thank you. Not my irreverence.
Well, I think you're funny too. Like you've always been funny. I always admire people who are just naturally funny and witty and fast.
Yeah,
You can't learn that.
yeah. Sometimes my humor is so dark though. I wish I could be a little bit better about that. Okay, I'm sorry.
Was there a time in your life when you screwed up so badly that you didn't think it was fixable? And then how did you come out of it? That was fixable, but you didn't think it was at the time. And don't say when you shot the dog.
I wasn't want to shut the door. No, I've never been there. I've been close a lot of times. I've been very lucky in my life to be stood on that line of the no return a number of times in a number of different situations, some of which I can't share. But I've never crossed it. I just haven't, and I don't think it's because of any particular quality that I have. Just it's fucking luck. And again, it's the dog story. You know the other half of that story. Do you know the other half of that story?
Don't remind me.
So the other half of the story is the reason I had the gun out is because
Yeah.
the kids that jumped me, we had another fight with like his sister or one of the sisters, and he was supposed to come around to beat me up, and I was sitting on the step with a 9 millimeter loaded, waiting for this dude to come around so I could shoot him. And I think you know me well enough. At least that time in my life, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid. I mean, I was afraid. Again, I was afraid to get jumped again, right? But I wasn't afraid to use that gun. He never came around. So I've had a number of different situations getting jumped at 12 years old over a fucking boombox and going and trying to fight 40 people and somebody else got stabbed in the place of me. Right. That's just 2 times that I've come very close to just ruining everything or just not even really being here. But so no, I've never been to that spot where it's never been fixed, that I didn't think it was fixable. But I've come close.
That's fortunate.
It is fortunate.
What hobbies or interests do you have aside from baseball and judo?
Writing, I guess, is probably the biggest one. I haven't done the poems in a long time, but just writing when I feel like I have something to say is probably my biggest one. And then my yard work now
You
here.
still play the clarinet?
Once in a while, I go on spurts, right? So I haven't played it probably in 8 9 months, but then I'll go 3 months where I'll play it, 4 times a week.
Is it like riding a bike?
To a certain degree, yes. So what is hard to get back is the breathing techniques, like the ability to have your embouchure to have a good sound for a long period of time. That's the only thing that's really is hard, but everything else just basically comes back pretty easily.
What's a useless talent that you have?
I can crack my knuckles at any point, and I could play them like the drums.
That's very What would your epitaph say?
Like my obituary. He loved hard, played hard, worked hard. I think
What song would you like played at your funeral?
That's an easy one. Second line, I want a New Orleans brass band to play at my funeral. I don't want to be buried. I don't want a service. I want a party.
Me too.
and I want a New Orleans brass band, but I want everybody to march to the march like the second line in New Orleans. That's what I want.
What are your biggest fears, realistic and unrealistic?
My biggest fears are just my kids being okay. That's all.
I feel like that's every parent.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob is 17. He's going to be out of the house real soon here, like on his own to some degree. But so yeah, that's I just making sure that I prepare them for when I'm not going to be around.
What about unrealistic fear? Like I have this really weird thing about zombies. I know they're not real, but
I've always been somewhat afraid of the dark a little bit. It's gotten better over the years. Quiet. I don't like I don't like quiet. I don't like what happens to my mind when my mind races when it's completely quiet. It's hard for me. That's why I need the TV on at all times.
or music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like quiet either. Right.
Yeah, it's not a fear necessarily,
Mm-mm.
but I don't like scary movies either. I'm such a pussy about them. Like the Jasons and stuff like that. That's like kind of funny, but
Yeah, they are funny.
like really, what was the one that freaked me out forever? The one where they were in the woods. It was in the late '90s. But anyway, but
Blair Witch.
Blair Witch Project, yeah, that was one of them. Like that, things like that can feel real that might
Mhm.
actually be able to happen to you. I don't like those type of horror movies.
And like psychological thrillers type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, freak me out.
If you hit the lottery tomorrow, what's the first three things you're doing?
But the first thing I'm going to do is find a financial advisor. That's number one. Number two is just pay everything off, and then number three is just set up whatever that plan is. I'm be real methodical about it, and I'm taking the lump sum because don't ever take the annuity. The annuity's not guaranteed, and the lump you're going to make more interest on the lump sum over the time. So always take the lump sum.
Are you going to be on TV holding a big check? You want to be anonymous?
I don't care either way. And then I would be on the TV. Don't fuck.
I should have knew the answer. Who was your first crush, first kiss, and your first time?
So my first crush and my first kiss was the same person. Was Linda Palumbo, who recently passed away. We were like 8 or 9 years old. Everybody wanted us to be boyfriend and girlfriend.
So cute.
You remember Linda? Do you know Linda? She lived up 2600 block of Marshall
I'm just going to
Street.
say straight down.
Yeah, she was my first crush and my first kiss. And the first time we kissed, it was on Marshall and Shunk. I had to stand on the step to kiss her because she was taller than me. That was very
One step or two steps.
just one. Take it easy, Steph. But she wound up being he was a little bit taller than me in the end, but yeah, she had her growth spurt first. I don't know how old we were, 11 or 12 years old, something like that. But and then my first time uh, was I'm not the
You don't say anybody's name.
yeah in my grandmother's in the middle room of my grandmother's house. My grandmother was downstairs.
Were you worried about getting caught?
Of course I was.
A song that best sums you up.
Oh God, I don't know. Uh, Father and Son by Cat Stevens is my favorite. Like, is the song that I think about for my relationship with my father and my kids' relationships with me. So that's a song that I think it touches me.
Comes full circle.
Yeah,
A movie that you watch over and over again and never gets old.
Shawshank Redemption. It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm. If you were in charge, what law would you put into place?
Oh, another law? I would change the gun laws. That's what I would do. I would make gun laws much like the DMV. That's what I would do. So again, you have to take a test. You have to take a test to own a gun, and then you have to have psychological evaluations every 5 years or something like that.
Mm.
It's something that I've talked to a ton of people about, and almost 90% of people agree with me, and we all agree, and we can't get it done because the gun lobby is stronger than everybody else apparently. But even most gun owners agree that they don't want crazy people with guns. So why not just set it up like the DMV?
I mean, it's not unrealistic. It could happen.
It's not unrealistic. They said the same thing. They said it's the same thing about cars. Like, how are you going to track them? It's called a fucking serial number.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy, you know. So it's not that difficult.
Who's the most famous person you ever met, if you ever met any famous people?
Ooh, I met a number of famous people, like athletes. I mean, like to say hi. Famous person that I hung out. Eric Hicks was defensive end for Kansas City Chiefs. I hung out at his house once because Laura went to high school with a guy that went to college with him, and he lived out in KC. That's the person the most famous person I ever had a real personal relationship with. It.
Mhm.
But I've met a number of famous people. I'm not someone who like I can't ask for an autograph. Who I hung
Like, do you
out
get starstruck?
and not opposite of starstruck. I don't like I'm not going to approach somebody, and it's not because I'm afraid to approach them or whatever. Don't have anything to say, but I can't treat people like they're more important than and because they make movies
Mhm.
because they act they play all day. Like I mean, it's just strange to me. Tom Arnold, I we hung out at a football game. We were in the same box, talked to him for a while. He was a fucking douche, but
He seems like you.
yeah, complete fucking
Seems like a whack job too.
yeah, he's a whack job douche. He was a douche. Like, I mean, I was at an Eagles fundraiser and some of the offensive linemen were there. They were all nice kids. I mean, they're fucking 24, 25 years old. So, I mean, that's actually the one thing. I was at an Eagles fundraiser just to see how young they look and because they're young. And it just, it was a little, it hurt my soul a little bit because I'm an old man now. But
Because in your mind, you're still not that
yeah,
age, right? Yeah.
yeah.
But your body's like, no, we really are.
Yeah.
Do you think you're a pessimist or yes?
I think I'm a pessimist by nature and I'm trying real hard to not be. So yes, I think by nature that I see the negative in everything, and I'm really working hard to stop doing that. And I've been fairly successful. I guess I'm a pessimist from the outside, right? Like from seeing the way I view other people is pessimistic, but not the way I view my life. But I'm working on it. I've talked about a lot of negative things that happen along my road, right? But I've always felt like a spectator to that stuff. So when it comes to me, I never felt like I always felt like I could overcome or I can do it, and it'll be fine, just keep going. I've always been that way. Well, at least as an adult, not as a kid. But when I'm looking outside to other people, I always see the worst in people, and that's not a good trait. So that's the thing I'm trying to work on is just to realize that you never know what people are going through. So, just think the best of them. That's the best way to be.
I feel like it's hard sometimes not to because they show you the worst of themselves.
Right,
So you do have to put yourself and say, okay, well, what are they not showing me? What
right.
am I not seeing?
What
Give
a,
them the benefit of the
Give
doubt.
them the benefit of the doubt, right?
Best travel location or vacation that you've gone on and a memorable moment from one of those experiences.
The greatest vacation I was ever on was I did a summer abroad when I was in law school to Italy, 6 weeks in Italy. We went to the Amalfi Coast on one of the weekends and took a boat out to the island of Capri, and we were swimming in the middle of the Adriatic Sea, and it's so salty there that it's 30, 40 feet of water, and you can wade in the water for hours. Like
You just float,
you
right?
just float, yeah. So I have a distinct memory of being out there with Laura and my couple other friends from law school, Liz Clark, and we're just sitting there and like staring back at the island from the water and just like being on top of the world. It was the last time that I felt completely free of like any responsibility.
So, like, if you close your eyes, you can see yourself right there at any
100%,
time.
100%. I can see myself turning to Liz and saying, "This is fucking amazing," and her saying, "It's the greatest time I've ever had." Yeah,
I remember Laura telling me about that trip and how everybody smells because deodorant's expensive in Italy.
Yeah, yeah. And supermarkets were like slightly bigger convenience stores. I would like to go back because I'm sure it's different now, but it was in the year 2000. That's when it was. So 23 years ago. Jesus Christ.
All right, this is a serious question.
All right.
Feet under the blanket or on top of the blanket?
Feet, no, not feet under the blanket on top. So I like to be cozy up top, but I need to have some air. Like I need to feel a little bit of chill.
You don't think monsters are gonna grab
I don't think the Aussies are going to grab me. No,
Do you put on your socks and then your shoes, or do you do socks, shoe like a crazy person?
no, I do socks and then shoe.
Everybody I've asked that question, like, who does that? It's like,
Is that the way you do it?
I
All
don't know.
right.
I think this is the one I told you that we would come to about what is the most valuable lesson you've taught your kids, and what lesson do you think they've taught you?
They've taught me a million lessons because there's nothing, if you're engaged as a parent and you treat your kids like human beings, they will put a mirror on you every time. So they've made me a better person. I've said this a million times. Jacob caused me to be an adult. He just did. Nick demands me to be an adult. Jacob makes you want to do it. Nick demands it. But so I can't think of any one thing necessarily other than when I'm being a shitbag, they're going to let me know. And that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. They hold you accountable.
They hold me accountable every single time. And what was the other part of that?
What lesson have you taught them?
Yeah. So I've said this before too. I lacked advice from the men in my family. So every chance I get, I'm teaching them a lesson. I think I taught them that they're pretty damn lucky, but they shouldn't be embarrassed about that. Nothing replaces hard work. Nothing replaces experience. Just go about life and try to be a decent human being. Don't be a fucking bag of dicks, and you'll be all right. To work hard and don't be a dick. That's it.
Maybe that's what you should put on your epitaph.
I worked hard and I tried not to be a dick because I am a dick sometimes. But yeah, and don't make it. I call them out, and I guess every kid does it, but when they make excuses for failure. I don't care that you're failing. Try harder next time, or don't, whatever, or just move on to something different if you're not good at this thing. But don't make excuses. It's not the ref's fault. It's not the teacher's fault. Look in the mirror.
Yeah, I like that. What do you eat on your pizza?
Either pepperoni or sausage and
I was gonna
mushrooms.
say some kind of Italian meat
Yeah, sausage.
in tube form.
Sausage and mushrooms is probably my favorite pizza though. Pepperoni is always the go-to. But Jacob made the white pizza with pepperoni, which is a fucking fantastic combination. But sausage and mushrooms is my jam.
White pizza, a little bit of ranch dressing, grilled chicken, sun-dried tomatoes.
That's fucking too fancy for me.
So, well, do you guys do pizza nights? Like, do you make your own pizza?
We don't make them because Nick has the gluten thing. But we used to. I was a pizza maker for a time.
You just make stromboli.
Yeah, Strimbo. My Strimbo is fucking.
Probably find some gluten that and do like your own thing. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the cauliflower crust is the better option, by the way.
And how is it good?
Yeah, it is good. Yeah, it's good. It's kind of like boardwalk pizza in some ways,
Oh, okay.
but a little bit more like flavorful.
Can you tell it's cauliflower?
No,
That's what I would want to try. Like, I could tell.
no, you can't really tell.
Like that almost meat where it's like black
Yeah,
beans.
yeah, it's stupid.
All right. If you could be a celebrity for a day, who would you be and why?
I think I would want to be like a rock star, or not necessarily rock music, but somebody just to feel that energy in a 60,000 seat stadium, like Bruce Springsteen or something like that. You know what I mean? Just to that just being in the crowd with that energy you know is amazing. Let alone to have to be the center and the focus of that energy.
It's gotta
Um,
be such a high.
yeah. So not any one person, but just to be able to feel that type of energy that a rock star feels.
if you were on a deserted island, which three, you don't have to pick celebrities, you could pick anybody.
Yeah.
Which three people would you bring with you?
Three people that I would bring with me? Oh, it's easy. My wife and two kids.
All right, aside from that,
Yeah. All right.
like fantasy, island,
Oh,
anybody, you know,
oh, yeah. All right.
I'm not talking like porn stars.
Oh, fuck. All right. God damn it. I would need somebody like that was good at survival skills, right? So I don't, one of those survivalist people,
Mhm.
a really hot chick that I can bang.
You need something to do
Right, right. And
or someone to
yeah,
do.
right. Yeah, but he has to be old and ugly, right? So it's an old, ugly
Survivalist.
survival.
But he has some strong back.
Right, yeah, yeah, he's got a strong back, right. And then who else? Oh, two hot chicks.
There you go. Does the survivalist know how to cook?
Yeah, well, he's a survivalist. Yeah. I mean, I can cook. I can make a fire. So that's a survivalist and two hot chicks that I can bang.
And leaf pizza. What did you want to be when you were a kid? Like, I know you said now you would have chosen to be like an actor or in construction, but was there something like when you were a kid that you can remember?
Not really. People said you should be a lawyer to me a lot because I was an arguer, but I don't know that I really ever thought that I wanted to be a lawyer. I just kind of sort of did it because nobody thought I could do it, was why I ended up there in some way. And I had a positive experience my senior year with a mock trial competition, sort of pushed me in that direction. But a cop for a minute because of your dad, but nothing really. I thought I wanted to be a baseball player. I didn't have any direction. 12, 13-year-old me couldn't even conceive of like anything.
Mhm.
Like I was never singularly focused. And that's probably why why I end up changing jobs so much in my life is I've always been like I want to be really good at something and then move on, right? Like I've never been singularly focused in my life about anything. Everything that from like a professional standpoint sort of happened to me. Like I made not happen to me, but I made decisions and just went with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not really necessarily because I loved it. And again, if that's an advice that I could give anybody, it'd be if you can find something that you love early on, I mean, go for it. As long as you can make ends meet and have a decent life that you like, it's much better to love something that you do every day than to do something for the money.
Yeah. Because then eventually you're going to be miserable.
But again, that's easy to say when
Yeah.
you have a decent life, right? So, coming from where I came from and money meant everything. Money was the topic of conversation every day, all day for my parents. I mean, they fought about it all the time. They fought about it so much that 20-year-old me told my girlfriend that we needed to get a joint account if we were going to move in together because I wasn't going to fight over money.
And that would be hard to hear all the time.
It was
And
horrendous.
stressful, I imagine.
It was stressful. Yeah. I mean, I was in the middle, just being in the middle of those adult problems from a really young age, like a really young age. I mean, I was answering creditors from the time I was 10 or 11 years
Mhm.
old, and just, no, they're not here. They were never home.
No, no.
They were never, they were never home.
And then
Yeah.
they would call and pretend like my aunt used to have somebody call my house and they would pretend they knew her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, she doesn't have any friends with that name. Because they tell her to get on the phone. I was like, bad phones for you. That was it. What song would you sing at karaoke?
I have a couple go-to songs for karaoke.
Let's hear.
The Monkees' Daydream Believer is a crowd favorite. And if I had $1 million, generally with Frank DeMizio, if he's around, we'll duet that one. That's two of them are my favorites. But Daydream Believer is my favorite to sing because it's simple, it's easy, and people love it.
You do it like kind of nasally though, because I mean it's a little bit of a nasal song.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. And I bop back and forth. Everybody
I have to see this.
like Davy Jones, a little back and forth, with the sway to side to side.
We're finding a character.
I love karaoke.
I do too. I just can't sing.
Well, yeah,
That's part of the fun.
I can match pitch most times. That's about all
You
I
went
got.
to music's
Yeah.
using that as my excuse. If you could hire a service to do one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Uh, Never mind.
Like somebody to cook or like mow the
Oh, okay, good. I mean, like a maid, I guess. I mean, yeah, like just somebody that takes care of the houses. Yeah,
You don't have to do any of it.
yeah.
I know. Could you imagine how much time that would free up?
Well, it would mostly free up shit time for Laura, but no, I mean, just not having that stress. Yeah,
Did you have a nickname as a child?
I had fucking 7,000 nicknames.
I don't remember any of them.
So around the neighborhood was meatball, pasta, Monchichi were like the three ones from Marshall Street. I made my own nickname, Real Deal, in 12th grade after Evander Holyfield in 1993. I put the Real Deal on my two wristbands that I wore during baseball.
Did
Uh,
it catch on?
it did catch on. Yeah, it was fucking weird.
That you made up your own name and it caught
Yeah.
on.
And then uh, no, so not a ton of in school. They called me Pamps for a little bit because I fucking had these pants on one day and I didn't, and they were too small for me. Nobody knows that actually. They were too small for me, so I didn't button them. But they kept falling down. So Wesley Tillman called me Pampers, like Pamps, and he still calls me that. By the way, I think he's like the only dude that does, but whatever. It's funny. I think that's generally them.
It's funny how they stick,
Yeah,
or some of them stick.
some of them stick. Yeah,
If money were no object, what would you do all day?
find something to do. I would still work. I would probably donate my time at like local baseball fields or local sports complexes and like take care of the fields. That's probably what I would do. And then and coach kids. But you can't. There's no way that I would just sit home.
Mm-mm.
No way. I would be 500 pounds and dead in 2 years.
It's not in your personality either to be idle.
No, but I'm terrified that if there's one fear that I'm terrified of that. I struggle with weight. I'm still overweight and I do judo 2 to 3 times a week. Judo is no fucking joke. Like it's not wrestling, but it's short of a wrestling workout. It's the hardest workout basically that you have in sports. It's an hour and a half of fucking, you're throwing grown men for 20 minutes, a half hour every day, every time you're there. Plus, all the other workout part of it. And I still struggle with weight and I don't eat that bad. So if I were to be lazy, I'd forget it. I'll be my dad. I mean, I'll have to have gastric bypass in fucking 2 years. No question. So I can't sit around.
After you started judo, how sore were you?
It was horrendous at first.
Could you walk?
No, it was, yeah, like actually, because there's just so much gripping,
Mm-hmm.
you just use hips and arms were the bad thing. But it's been so good for me. Like it made me a better baseball player towards the end there because my hips and just the lower body strength that you need. Um, yeah, I love it. I love the workout.
Was there a moment when you were like, why am I doing this? This hurts. Or did
Well,
you just be like, fuck it, I'm gonna go back no matter what?
uh,
Obviously, because you stuck with it.
yeah, no, um, no. The moment of why am I doing this is I decided to fight up weight class 2 weeks ago, and 10 seconds into my first match, I got kicked in the knee, and I couldn't walk for 2 days. So, yeah, you're not really supposed to get kicked in a fucking grappling match, but I did. And anyway, so yeah, that made me think, why the fuck am I competing at 47 years old? But I'm gonna go back.
What made you start judo though?
What made me start
Mm-hmm.
judo? A la El Idrisi. It was Father's Day, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now, and he embarrassed me and another father to get us back on the mat. And then he was relentless about it. So, I didn't want to look like a pussy. So I got on the mat and fucking, it was awful because a minute in, me and the other guy had no idea what we were doing and we're fighting each other. And, like a minute in, I was fucking gassed and, everybody laughing. So, but it was fun. So I came back.
There you go. I was going to say, what part of it made you decide, all right, this is something I think, or did you just want to be better at it because
Yeah.
you weren't first time?
Yeah. I wanted to be better at it. And then for a long time, like that kind of thing is something that I love to do. But for a long time, I didn't want to do it because I know how I get with things, and I didn't want to outshine or be overbearing with my kids. My kids were doing it. It was nice to be able to just be a dad and just clap and not really know much about something. Like baseball would have been tough for me to be just a dad, right? Because I know a lot about
Right.
it. I've done it my whole life, and my kids aren't competitive like I'm competitive. So I worried that it would be a bad fit. Like it would be me being my ego getting in the way of being with my kids. And it's not been that at all. It's really been great, especially for me and Jacob. It's something that we do together. Um, and we get to talk about it a little bit. And more than that, it drives to and from, mostly from, we get to talk about, we don't really talk about judo, but we get to touch base and talk to each other, which is great. And hopefully I'll have that because Nick does the little kids class, but hopefully I'll have that with Nick coming up here soon.
So it was a nice bonding experience.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, Kristen and Allah at the gym, they convinced me to do it. I'm glad they did. They were more right than I was. So, although my ego does get in the way sometimes.
If you could travel to another time period, where would you go?
20 years into the future.
How come?
So I can know what's going on and what to invest in. That's it.
Good reason for that.
So I can become rich. I don't want to, for all the bad things in this world right now, we're in the best time and the best time in the history of the world. So I don't want to go backwards. You would rather be a human now than you would ever have rather been a human at any other point in history.
Yeah, I mean, think of just medically where technology is.
Right.
Even when we were kids, like it's come so far.
And human rights and
Yeah.
human dignity, right?
Mhm.
Even, again, even poor people in America have food. So just think about that. When we complain about where we are, again, there's rights to complain and it always can be better and we should strive to be better. But this isn't the 1400s
Mhm.
where like three people had money or had the money and the power and everybody else, it was pretty awful.
I just am like, what did women do for like when they had their periods back then? Because that just is gross.
Right. Exactly.
No.
Indoor plumbing's 120,
Yeah.
130 years old, right?
I don't like the dark either. I mean, there was no electricity back then. You got to pee in the middle of the night? Well, that's not happening. Just gonna, the maids can change the sheets in the morning. All right. If you could be a mythical creature, what would you be?
A dragon. Who doesn't want to be a fucking dragon, man? I always wanted to fly. I used to have dreams about flying.
Seriously, are we the same person?
Yeah. I would fly off the earth. Like I miss those dreams. I haven't had one in a while, but I probably a couple of years ago was the last time I had one. I used to fly off Earth and around here, like around into the solar system and
Like
stuff.
Superman.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome.
I know the answer to this, I think. This might be opening a can of worms. The worst gift you ever received.
You do know this answer. Listen, I don't think she listens to it, but God bless you. Listen, I forgive you, but your Aunt Tina once gave me and my wife for for our wedding, gave us a wedding doll that was regifted from her wedding. And then Laura gave that wedding doll. Yeah, so as a gag gift afterwards, that it kept moving on. I don't know where the wedding doll is now, but that is 100% the worst gift. And she begged to come to my wedding.
Wouldn't it be funny if somebody gifted it back to you for like your anniversary?
That'd be fucking amazing. Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, she begged to come to my wedding and then didn't invite me to her wedding 3 months later. But anyway, next question.
No hard. If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
Fly.
Flying?
Yeah, flying. 100%.
If you could change one historical event, what would it be? That's a hard one too.
Yeah, to be nice and easy, the way we handled COVID, to be pushed into the house for 2 years was pretty shitty.
Yeah, but I was finishing up your last episode on my way here. I think I had like 15 minutes left of it, and but yeah, the ramifications, like
Yeah, it's not going to be. Yeah, we're gonna find out in 20 years about the social ramifications.
yeah, I'm already saying it.
Yeah, no question. I mean, with little kids, you're definitely seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's the thing that comes to mind. I don't know. You would want to. I guess you would want to change World War II, probably the Holocaust.
Slavery,
Yeah, I mean,
all big things.
there's a lot of big things, these traumatic, awful events in history. Yeah, I guess. But anything in our lifetime, I guess it would be the way we handled COVID.
Dumbest thing you ever did on a dare.
Oh, Christ. Probably steal some things. I mean, that's as a kid.
Was it anything good at least?
No, nothing ever good. Um, Stealing, theft. I've done that several times.
Was it you by yourself, or was it like a group where you had to go in and do it and like prove that you did it afterwards?
Yeah, B. I had to prove that I did it. Yeah.
Like to get initiated into some club.
No, just be trying to be cool and be a part of with the older kids. Yeah. The worst thing I probably ever did for as a dare, like as a human, is I beat up a kid one time, a shoe shine kid. I think I told about this
Mm-hmm.
before. That's the thing that I still feel awful about. This kid that was, like a little bit older than me, going down fucking town shining shoes, trying to make some money, and we're fucking picking on him for no fucking reason. I still feel terrible about that. That's probably the most shittiest thing I've ever done.
If you ever came across him, would you apologize?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I would let him punch me in his face if he wanted to. Yeah, I mean, 100%. Yeah, I don't even know who he is, but yes. I mean, it's awful. It's awful. I did a couple of those things, like bully kind of things that I feel very bad about.
Should.
Yeah, I should. You're right.
Do you pee in the shower?
Sometimes, yeah.
People don't like to answer that question. They're like,
Oh,
I don't pee in the shower. I'm like, that bullshit.
yeah, I've peed in the bathtubs at times. I'm an
Did you
idiot.
poop in the bathtub?
Well, as a kid, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I did, yeah.
Have you ever been hit on by the same sex?
Yes.
How'd that go?
I thought it was hysterical. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was fine. I was at some gay club. Yeah, I was hit on. Yeah, it was fine.
Was he cute?
I don't remember. I think he was. I think he was cute. Yeah, but whatever. I forget. But just
Like
yeah, 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 yeah. Just like like just getting too close and just like showing interest.
angry that you didn't come out.
Oh, no, I would never. That was it was flattering. I don't get upset about that stuff.
What was the first time you had your heart broken by love, not tragedy?
I almost don't want to say it, but I'm not going to say the person. But I was a senior in high school, and I was dating this girl, and she broke up with me for fucking no reason. Well, it turned out to be because she wanted to date another dude, and she was at least nice enough to break up with me before she did it. But my heart was broken over that. So 18 years old.
What job have you had in your life that's been most fulfilling aside from being a parent?
Probably when I was risk management counsel at the city, I felt like it was I was saving the city money. I was doing good work. I was helping our community. I guess I think that I love that job. It just didn't pay enough.
Have you ever run into the girl who dumped you?
Uh, we're still friends on Facebook. Yeah,
That's cool.
she's a sweetheart. There's no.
Teenagers then.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There's a sweetheart. But Steph, I spent most of like my teenage years being heartbroken, but not like never having the balls enough to ask anybody out.
Is that where your poems came from?
No, they don't come from
Oh,
there. No, things have gone well since then, as far as the love goes. But no, but um, yeah, I was always there was so much angst when it came to girls for me. I was so like timid, and self-conscious. And I really, that's one. I really wish I see that a little bit in my son, my older son.
it's such a personality conflict.
Yeah, it is. But I don't, rejection was not something I could deal with. It just never was.
So is that why you didn't ask? Because you were
Yeah,
afraid.
100%. It was the fear of rejection. And that's a direct link from my father. I mean, yeah, I just didn't want to I didn't ever want to be a fool, like to play the fool. I just never could do it. But it's funny because you've seen me act like a stupid idiot
Mm-hmm.
and have fun with it, right? But not in that way. I just couldn't do it.
I think it's a comfort thing too. You know, who you can kind of be yourself around.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's probably true, right? So I knew people that, would laugh with me, not at me.
Right.
But yeah, I was terrified. I was terrified of rejection. And that's, all that stuff that I didn't do as a kid and into my early 20s. All that stems from the fear of rejection. Yeah.
And then you said you're starting to see it with.
I see it a little bit with my kids, or particularly Jacob, but he's not me. I mean, he's much better than I was, but I just, I worry about that stuff. I worry about not trying things, not doing things because of some perception that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Nobody remembers.
Right. I think that's a good lesson too to teach them because it's something that we learned, but we didn't learn it and realize it till we were older.
So like,
But those things don't.
yeah, I had a really great story about, like I go out for baseball. I get cut from the team at Westchester. I was devastated and I was so embarrassed by it. And I remember saying something to, well, like one of my high school, Gina Soleil. I ran into her afterwards and, I told her, she said, who cares? Nobody's going to remember anyway.
Mm.
And it's, and that and she was probably 18, 19 years old. We were that young. And that still sticks with me today. And like, why the fuck did I care?
Right.
Again, and why do I care not to try the million other things that I didn't try? Who cares? Who cares?
I told Well, did you hear about the pee in the trash can story?
No.
Joey had to pee really bad at school, and he went down to the nurse because they lock the bathrooms after a certain time. And he went
Yeah.
to the nurse. The nurse was busy. He ended up going back to class.
Yeah.
And then he thought he could hold it. He didn't. And he wasn't going to make it. So he went trash can in front of the classroom. Nobody saw anything.
Yeah.
He got sent home. He got a letter. He got a write up. I said, "Did you get hurt? Your pride was hurt a little bit, right?"
Right.
Nobody's going to remember it. He was so upset when he came home. I said, "How many of your friends would have the nerve to pee in a trash can,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the forethought to say instead of peeing in my pants?"
Right. Right.
And he went back to school Monday. It was fine. I said, "See, he was so worked up." So
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Those little things
Yeah.
that we think are going to define who we are really nothing.
They're nothing. Yeah. They're nothing.
What are a few things on your bucket list?
Travel to like New Zealand, Australia. I still haven't skydived. I would like to skydive.
Oh, there's one right by me.
Yeah, I know. In Washington Township, right? Yeah.
You might land in Jimmy Schlachter's yard. He
Uh,
got a wallet last year.
oh, really? That's hysterical. Those are two things that I can think of. And to retire, like, not to stop working, but just to retire. I just want to be able to not work so hard or worry about work that much.
Mm-hmm. You said that recently too in another.
Yeah.
Do you have any fond memories of any pets that you didn't kill?
I have a lot of fond memories. We have always had pets. Vader, I loved very much. He was spastic, but a great dog.
Yeah.
Our first dog was Reggie, which is another bird dog. I love my cats. My cats are great. And these fucking dogs here are these dogs in my Jersey place that are not really ours, but they kind of
They're
are.
so awesome.
These two dogs are the greatest animals I've ever had, ever. And I don't even have them. But yes, I mean, I always loved pets.
They're so mellow and calm.
I love dogs, but I don't want the responsibility of having one.
All work.
Yeah, and they're babies that never grow up.
And you can't just go.
Right.
Like you can just up and go away for the weekend. You got to get
That
somebody to take care of the
that's why cats are great. But I love the one cat that we have. Just like lays with me. Everybody leaves in the morning, and I have a little bit of time afterwards, and it makes it hard for me to leave because she just wants to lay on my chest and purr.
I love snuggling cat. Asshole cats are fun too, though.
Yeah, there are.
Just knock
You,
shit
you
off the
remember
counter.
what you remember what my dad used to do to cats,
He used to torture my cat. I know that. He would give her catnip all the time.
and he used to put them in bags,
Yeah,
the plastic bag,
cat too.
spin the plastic bag, and then watch them like lose their balance when they came out. Um,
Be all over the table. Do it.
so I don't have any fond memories of cat. Well, he had several cats, but he would torture them. I don't know. He thought it was funny, but it was pretty awful.
Probably.
But the dogs, we had tons of dogs. But Vader and Reggie are the two ones
I
growing up.
remember Vader the most.
You don't remember Reggie? He was
Mhm.
gone by the time we were young. Somebody stole him out of our yard.
I think we had Vader at our house for a while too.
Maybe,
I don't remember why.
maybe in a transition. Maybe,
Something like that.
yeah, maybe.
What would your first cause of action be during a zombie apocalypse?
What do you mean? What would I do first?
Yeah.
I would move here to New Jersey and secure this place, and because you could probably live off this land here.
Yeah. And you probably wouldn't get many zombies back here.
Yeah, yeah, and get the arsenal. I would have to get one of my friends, either my Uncle John or Minos, to come live here because they both have arsenals. Yeah,
If you could see one to know it's real, would you want to see a ghost or an alien?
ghost. I 100% believe that there's life in other planets. We might never see it. It may be too far, but there's too many celestial bodies, too many options for that not to be true.
There was just this thing I saw the other day that said something in outer space heard some kind of signal that we sent in 2002. Did you hear about this?
No,
I'll
no.
have to Google that one when you do the next.
Yeah, I'm doing one on Monday. I'll Google it. So, when it comes to religion, I'm not religious. I don't believe in any organized religion. I hope that there's an afterlife. So, to prove that there is an afterlife, I would love that. Yeah.
Ghosts are fun. Sometimes. Unless you're in the shower home by yourself, and then the door opens and then you sit on the couch with shampoo in your hair for an hour. But I'm moving on. What is some advice that you tell others but you don't follow yourself?
Ooh, man, don't eat Italian meats. They're not good for you. Be kind to yourself. Be forgiving to yourself more than anything. I think
it's easier to say that to other people.
it is. I'm not always kind to myself. Just health wise, forgiveness wise. I'm harder on myself than I am anybody else in this world. So
yeah, it's like you don't need anybody else to be hard on.
Yes,
you do it all on your own.
I don't need it. Yeah.
If you could have a lifetime supply of one thing, what would it be? Italian meat.
Slim Jims. Christ, I would say gasoline because it's so fucking expensive.
But it goes bad after a while.
I don't know. Well, it's a lifetime supply though.
What's the weirdest thing a guest has ever done at your house? Well, I know somebody peed on your couch.
Oh no, the weirdest thing was I don't know if I talked about this in one of the episodes, but a guy I used to play baseball with was having a rough time in life and was on drugs. And he showed up to my son's birthday party with what was most likely a crack order. That's probably the craziest thing that anybody. And he gave my son his entire baseball card collection. Not maybe not the entire one, but a bunch of baseball cards.
Any of them any good?
Yeah, some good ones. Yeah.
2 more. If you came with a warning label, what would it be?
Volatile. Proceed with caution.
Yeah. All right, last one.
Yeah.
What's the dumbest rule that you've ever been forced to follow? Did you ask this question?
I know it's a good question. I've never asked. I've been asked to follow lots of rules. Like here's one from work where I was a employee at the city of Philadelphia running a $60 million program. I got paid $85,000 a year to do it, which is fucking bananas. And I had to sign in every morning just because other people had to sign in. I was the only person who was a lawyer in the city of Philadelphia that had to sign in.
Yeah, that is stupid.
So I kind of not didn't really do it very often.
Just get a stamp.
I used to get in trouble because you have to sign in. Yeah, okay, all right, yeah. I'm a salaried employee, right? So what the fuck am I signing in for? I'm working more than all you assholes at this place. I get my fucking work done. Give me a break.
Did you like my questions?
I thought your questions were great. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm gonna keep them. Can I keep
Yeah,
them?
you can keep them. I have 2 copies.
All right.
Just ignore that one. What number is it? Oh, ignore number 43.
No, what was 43? Come on, ask me
Do you remember the first time that you masturbated?
it.
Because I feel like it's such a normalized thing for men, but when
Yeah,
women talk about it, it's like
yeah.
a little taboo. Well, at least it used to be. Now I think it's a little bit common, but
I don't know that I remember the first time that I did. I distinctly remember being in my grandparents' bathroom and masturbating so badly, so many times. It was before that I even came, right? So like a few months later, like I start to like come a little bit, like it would like bubble up at the top. But I masturbated so many times that I like got a rug burn on my penis.
how long did that take to heal?
Oh, not long. I was a kid, so it was like
So you're me.
yeah, a few days. But literally, I couldn't touch my dick for for a few days.
Like, were you mad that you couldn't do it again for a few
A
days?
100%, I was mad. I was maybe 10 or I think like 11 or 12 years old. 11 years old, probably. Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you at least clean up afterward? Like bathroom?
There was no cleaning up
Okay.
because it was before that I was even at puberty.
Oh, okay.
Like I was like right at the beginning of puberty.
All right.
It felt,
This might have elicited more questions.
yeah,
So, what made you decide to do it if it was before puberty? Like, is it something that you saw or heard about, or you
yeah.
just were like,
But I was around all the older kids. I guess
oh,
that's what
yeah.
it was. So they started talking about it, and I started doing it, and it felt good. And there was no repercussions because I didn't have to clean anything up.
Hmm.
So it was amazing at first, and then it's like it was only a couple months later that the cleanup started to happen. But I would Stephanie, I used to master. It was like bad. I used to masturbate all the time. My grandfather, my grandfather used to yell at me, "Get out of the bathroom! It's gonna fall off!" And
I saying that in his voice too.
I'm like, I'm not touching myself. I was 100%, 90% of the times touching myself.
And this is why you do this if you were a woman for a day.
How fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Pivotal times.
All right. So I got just a couple questions for you. Have you listened to all the podcasts?
Yes.
What is your favorite one so far? Do you have one?
So far, I really liked Brian's.
My brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. His was good. I told you Steve Iraq.
Yeah.
There's so many that I like you could relate to like little parts of everybody,
Yeah.
but some of them I laughed, I feel like more than others, and some of them I cried a little bit. I was like, oh my God, this person needs a hug.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, I think out of all of them, they're probably the two.
Yeah. The next one is not a fun one, not like a funny one. It's good. I think we'll see. Omar is next. Yeah. I mean, I've liked them all in their
Mhm.
different ways. What what do you want to see more to me to do more of? You want me to change anything?
No, I do like your format. Um, I love the funny stuff.
Yeah.
I love the embarrassing stories
Yeah.
because they're all so different.
Right.
And you don't know what everybody's going to say, and you're like, wait a minute, did this really happen?
Yeah.
Like, who was it? Was it Perini
What's
in the car on the freeway?
on the freeway? Yeah. Yeah. Steve.
That's awesome. That's gold.
It is gold. It is gold. I'm starting to release some of like, like 1 minute clips or whatever, like a minute 30 clips.
Mhm.
I'll probably release that one for him. But I'm trying to just double back and get some stuff out, some more content out there. But anyway, all right. Well, thank you. This was great. It was. Oh, it's not even that long. A little bit over an hour.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I'm like 55 questions. Could go anywhere.
Yeah, is that how many it was? 55.
55.
All right, so that's what I'll call this podcast. 55 questions with Stephanie. All right, thank you, Steph.
You're welcome.
Until next time, we're out. Peace.